So tomorrow night's movie is The Lodger, and this is a movie that will be remembered forever, mainly because it put Alfred Hitchcock on the map. Alfred Hitchcock makes it when he's 27 years old, and one of the young women working behind the scenes with him is Alma Rebel, who was born a day after him, and he married her either at the end of the production or just after the production ended, and he stayed married to her for the rest of his life. And it's a Jack the Ripper movie. And if you watch this, you'd almost think you were watching a German expressionist silent. Hitchcock has yet to develop the humorous touches, the black comic touches that he would be known for once he hit his stride. But this is a very good movie, but it's a much more serious and darker movie than most of the Hitchcock pantheon that we think of. And it's very influenced by the Germans. And the novel that it was based on, which I think had the same name, The Lodger, left some ambiguity whether the lodger, who was a guy who was renting the upstairs room in a house, is the serial killer that everyone's looking for or not. And when the British made it with Hitchcock, they didn't want ambiguity, so they made him either innocent or guilty. And then when the Americans made it 17 years later, they chose the opposite tack. So I won't give away the ending of the movie, but in one movie, in one of the movies, the serial killer is not the lodger, and the other one he is. So I'll let the people have to watch it to see the end. But this is a movie well worth watching. It's very atmospheric, very foreboding, and a rather dark film. And it doesn't, again, all Hitchcock's movies tend to be on the dark side, but they always had some humor or comic touches in them, or you saw an impish Hitchcock behind the scenes that you don't see in this one. He's not there yet, but he does a very good job on this movie.
So is it something in his personality that made him gravitate towards this kind of thing rather than doing children's stories, you know?
Well, yeah, he did a handful of movies that weren't like that, but the dark ones, and they always have a constant theme. There's an innocent man accused of some crime he didn't commit. And the story goes that when Alfred Hitchcock was a little boy, his father sent him to the local police station to pick up something from a friend. And as a joke, the policeman locked him into the cell. And he was a kid, so he was terrified that he'd never get out. And this was a traumatic experience for him. So the story goes. But and from this, this gave him a lifelong, supposedly, empathy with a person who's up against society. Nobody believes him. He's innocent. Nobody else knows it. And by God, he seems so guilty. And so North by Northwest gets into that. 39 Steps gets into that. A movie like Notorious doesn't get into that. Psycho doesn't get into that. So he gravitated to that theme, but he was not exclusively into that. Like the other Hitchcock movie you've shown on your program is the Saboteur, not to be confused with a later Hitchcock movie called Sabotage, which is also it's a sound film, but it's an earlier film of his. And that's a dark one. That doesn't have it's a very dark one, and it doesn't have anything to lighten it up a little. And it was only a few years after the Saboteur that Hitchcock hit his stride with mixing comedy and morbidity in a way that no one had done before him. The star of this movie, who is the lodger, who may or may not be a serial killer, is someone you should have on your show if he was still alive, because he was mainly known for musicals, and that was Ivor Novello, who has been, before Andrew Lloyd Webber, was the most consistently successful British songwriter and composer. And there's Ivor Novello Awards, there's an Ivor Novello monuments here and there.
My friend Jojo had the Ivor Novello Award for Paul McCartney and Denny Lane's Mull of Kintyre.
Well, there you go. Well, if you watch the movie, you can see the guy for whom the movie is, whom the award is named.
I've heard his name for years because of JoJo. That's fascinating. So Ivor Novello is in this movie.
He is a star, and he's a very ominous figure in it. I mean, it's not, you wouldn't think he was out there crooning otherwise. He's a rather dark figure in the movie.
25 seconds left, Frank. Thank you so much for your insight on The Lodger. I'll get you the movies for next week.
Okay.
And I'm glad we touched base.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Frank Dello Stritto, The Lodger. We got 10 seconds left. I think we covered it all. Thanks to WinCAM, thanks to Joe LaRocca, Anthony Gamari, and Peter Pongratz was here. Thanks, everyone.